Welcome to Code Cuts Episode 2. In this episode, I'm going to be covering some really good resources to use when working on an app. Additionally, I will show you some good articles that you should read and show you how to actually navigate the Android developer portal, which is something all its own. So let's get started. First, I've gone to developer.android.com, and that's this page. And here is basically the nexus of information for Android developers. They've got tab systems, so SDK, dev guide, reference, resources, videos, and blog. So you can see there's a lot of information here. The question is, how do you parse it all? Let's start with SDK. Now, this is something you've probably already done because the SDK is for if you're still installing Eclipse or whatever. It's actually pretty well documented. I will give them that. Let's go to the dev guide next. So the dev guide is where you can view a lot of sort of articles that they've written about general theory. It's a very good place to go, and they actually have some really good articles that I would suggest you read. Specifically, the user interface section is one, and you can just sort of play around. There's a lot of information here, and it would be good to skim through the articles and just look at anything interesting. Their whole section on publishing, you should definitely read if you're going to be publishing, because there's this whole encryption key thing that you have to do, and it would just be a good thing to review. Plus, you have to if you're going to be releasing something, like signing your application. Best practices, good for theory. I don't think I really have to go over this stuff with you guys. I would just skim through the articles that they've got because there's some really good information. Reference. So, this is where the tutorial actually begins. Android likes to adhere to this thought that they can just throw code at you and you will be able to figure everything out, which works if you have a lot of patience and a lot of time. I happen to have both. So I have spent countless hours poring over their reference section and their demonstration applications and all that stuff. And it can be really intimidating, especially if you're just starting out. The reference section is where you can go to sort of get MSDN-style documentation on anything you can imagine. So if you see up here in the developer docs, we could just search for, list. A list is a collection. So now you can see, and notice that this is just like a Java thing. It's not really necessarily specifically Android, but they've got a lot of information. So this is a really good MSDN style documentation for Java, but more than Java, also includes the specific Android SDK, which is where the tough part comes in. So recommend going here if you're looking for more information on something specific and you kind of have an idea of what it is, like Android views, for example. This is definitely Android specific, and I've probably visited this page a bajillion times as well myself. But anyway, that's what the references section is. It's basically just documentation for the language. Then we can go to resources. Here's where they have actual code examples. Now, some of their tutorials are really pretty well done, and then some of them are, I would definitely consider lacking. That's kind of why I'm developing this tutorial. And it's good if you have a question to look at their resources section and see if they already have a demo or a tutorial specifically for what you're working with. If they do, that's excellent. If they don't, then, well, you'll have to resort to other methods. And the real part, the important thing is the sample code. This is where you actually learn. So again, in the resources tab on the left side of the screen, they've got technical resources, and one of those is sample code. So for example, if you want to make a live wallpaper, you can go to the Cube Live Wallpaper sample code. Now, I have definitely visited this page many, many times because I've released lots of live wallpapers, and to originally generate my framework took a lot of effort and a lot of figuring out. Don't even get me started on settings page. But regardless of that, this is the sort of design that their resources, code samples are in. They'll give you a nice overview, and then at the very bottom, directories to files and stuff. So it's like, oh, here's the manifest file. Granted, it's got no comments. Well, the manifest file doesn't. You can go into the source file and look at their actual code. And it's a little bit commented. But in general, like I said, their approach is, here's some code, figure it out. It's good in the sense that if you do figure it out, you are going to be pretty dang good at whatever it was that you were researching, just on principle, and you'll pretty thoroughly know the topic. It's bad if you don't have a lot of patience, or if you're really trying to just solve a problem, not learn everything there is to know about their engine. And this is just sort of one of those things. Hopefully I can cover some of their topics in video tutorials. That's kind of my intent, is to expound on what they've offered. But definitely you can see there's some value to be gained in just going through their tutorials, their sample code. So they've got a lot of sample projects, which is good because they demonstrate a lot of different aspects of the Android system. I've only looked at a couple different ones myself because I've only needed to, but I would definitely suggest taking a look. Like, that's pretty awesome. I'm going to say that is definitely an awesome snake. So that's what the code tutorials look like, and that is where you will find most of your information. Then there's this other website. It's actually the same domain, developer.android.com/design. So developer.android.com/design. And it'll take you to this page, Android Design. Now this is a fairly new document that they've created. It's really awesome. I really like it. It's just kind of inspirational in the art sense. So if you're trying to design something, it's cool to go through and see what they offer in terms of design principles, ideas, styling guides, colors that you can use. They even give you images if you go to their downloads section. And so it's a pretty cool resource for the design aspects of stuff. They demonstrate various ways that you can make your app look good and how you should, certain standards you should try to conform to. And there are no really official standards, obviously, for Android, but this helps set a nice precedence for what you should be doing. And it's a good place to go for any design questions you have. Another tutorial site that I'd like to show you is called mobile.tutsplus.com. I have only used a couple of their tutorials, but they've got some really in-depth examples of how to use various things, and it's just a really, really well done website. From what I understand, anyone can pretty much write tutorials, I think, and you can see ratings for them, so you can sift through what's good and what's not good. But they do definitely have some really good examples of code. So I would definitely recommend this website be a go-to for anyone who's doing anything with Android development. And that's really all I've got for right now. I know this was kind of a weak episode. I just wanted to briefly go over some of the how you can use the developer tools that Android's provided. It seems like it'd be kind of obvious, but really it's not, especially if you're in the moment and you're trying to figure something out and you just can't get past this and you're searching everywhere. Stack Overflow's not doing it for you. Android or developer.android.com is definitely all they've got for you is a code sample, and that's going to be your most frustrating moment. So hopefully we'll address that soon with some better tutorials to help expound on what's been provided. Thank you for watching. I'm going to be creating another episode shortly that is the basis for building an actual framework dedicated to making live wallpaper. So that should be fun. Stay tuned for that, and thank you for watching. If you have any suggestions for improvement, I would love to hear it, and have a great day.